I have to pat myself on the back, right? Rich's Razor.
Rich's Razor.
Rich's Razor. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to make it a thing. So like, yeah.
Hold on. Remind everybody who didn't see last week's episode,
Yes.
you people, why didn't you watch it? Tell them what Rich's Razor is.
Yeah. So we can...
Everybody, welcome back to the NerdNest podcast, episode 101. I'm Bill Fairchild. I'm your host, and I am joined today by Rich. What's going on, Rich?
Not much. Getting ready for this long weekend. I'm going to play video games. That's what I'm going to do.
Play video games. I'm going to be working all weekend, and Carrie, I'm guessing you're going to be working all weekend as well.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going to be working nonstop. It's just a flood of stuff that's coming. Lots of cool stuff, and we'll talk more about it a little bit later.
We absolutely will. We cannot keep up. Russ, what's going on with you, man?
I've actually been playing lots of video games. I've been barely getting any work in. So, nice. Everything's going good. I like playing video games. So
that's awesome. And we are joined today by special guest from Mechanism, who, full transparency, have been a sponsor here on the channel before, but Siri from Mechanism is here to just join the podcast and talk about some video games. We've got lots of news. Siri, what's going on, man?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited. I've worked with you guys all individually, some through email, some I've actually gotten on a call, and it's been really nice to even just chat these last few minutes. So I'm excited to talk.
Yeah, I'm very happy to have you here. Listen, we have a mountain of news. Plus, some of us have been playing video games. But before we do that stuff, Siri, I'm curious, what kind of stuff, tell people about what you guys do over at Mechanism.
Yeah, actually, saying we is maybe a bit of a misnomer. I've been kind of a one-man show for the last few years. But Mechanism essentially boils down to like a mounting ecosystem. So specifically designed for video games. So the way that I've kind of like told people about it is like what GoPro did for sports action cameras. They have the 3-prong, 2-prong. They have a bunch of really cool mounts for sports action cameras. We're trying to do that, but solve it for video game specific problems. So we started on the Steam Deck, and actually it was really organic start. It was on the subreddit r/Steam Deck, and at the time, I was one of the first people to get the Steam Deck, and I just tinker. I just love to make stuff. And one of these designs, I just needed a kickstand, so I designed a little clip that allowed you to clip it on and posted it on Reddit, and it just spread like wildfire. It was like at the time when everybody was itching for Steam Deck news.
100%.
And part of the ethos of the company has always been to share the 3D files because of that. And it got this like maker vibe to it. Like I lean into the maker. I offer the 3D files. You can remix. You can do all kinds of cool stuff. And we've just been slowly pulling the thread on offering really cool mounts and spreading across all your consoles. And so now it's kind of developed into this crazy ecosystem that I never would have imagined. So yeah, that's kind of Mechanism in a nutshell.
Yeah,
so
go ahead, Rich.
I was going to say, I'm so happy you mentioned that you had like the files available, right? Because that was one of the things that really blew me away, was that you did that and you still managed to make like a really strong business model where like you are making products that are worth potentially buying, right? Above and beyond just having those files. So like someone that is a maker can go and do that themselves, but someone that, wants the highest quality product and things like that can go through you. And that just also feels like it fits the ethos of the Steam Deck and Linux and stuff like that. So it is really organic. Did that play into it at all? That like Linux sort of vibe, or yeah?
It's so much. Like I kind of, actually for me, I want to be as open source as possible, like to the extent that it makes sense. Like I would like to get the female side of the ecosystem, the side that exists on your devices, on anything, right? Because for me, I find that we can be way more compelling if we solve all of the problems that people face with video games, especially portable video games. If we can solve those and solve those use cases, then it works across all these consoles. And it kind of has been trying to ride this tidal wave. The Steam Deck first proved out the PC gaming, portable gaming market, and now every manufacturer is making, everybody's making it. It's totally fractured, and that fracturing has actually played into this idea of an ecosystem. So it's been really fun to explore. And, the mounts, they all work with all of our female side. So you can actually buy one mount and use it across all your devices. And so that's what's really cool, as new consoles come out, like the Switch 2, if you already have mounts, you're going to be able to use those same ones and not have to buy over and over again. And you can just make and design your own stuff for it too.
Yeah, that's always one of my favorites.
I remember when it arrived, because I don't really have I like naked consoles, essentially. Like, I don't have a case on my phone, I don't have a case on my Steam Deck, but I know that there's a lot of people that do. And when it arrived, I put the thing on there and I used it, and I was really impressed by the engineering side of it. So much so that I just kept the kickstand on my desk and I would play with the spring when I was working on stuff. I just sit there and play with the spring. It's not on my desk anymore because I rearranged my office and I lost it. But it's really satisfying to just play with that spring. But you know what? Speaking of Steam Deck, we might as well jump into the first bit of news, which is that SteamOS is now officially available for other handhelds, including the Lenovo Legion Go S, that's where it's starting with. But I didn't expect Valve to also say, go ahead and install it on your Legion Go and your ROG Ally and Ally X, because you guys can do that. And they said it right on their website. SteamOS is here. Carrie, what do you think about that? Are you going to be installing things right away?
Yeah, Eric. So I already did, and I made a quick video. It took me longer to make the video, by 10 times longer to make the video than installing SteamOS on the Ally. So it's already done, and everything is working as when I first installed it, before anyone really had it. We were still missing the button components on the ROG Ally, but now with this latest release, all of the Asus ROG Ally stuff works. And in my video, I even show off that gyro's working. So we have all buttons, back paddles, gyro working, touchscreen works. I demo all this really quickly at the tail end of the video, just so you can kind of see it. The only thing, and I feel like this is the only bit of why it's not official, is that there is no TDP control whatsoever and no GPU clock control on the ROG Ally yet at the moment. So you have a 15-watt cap that it basically imposes on it, which, truth be told, on the original Ally with a 40-watt-hour battery is better, in my opinion, just because you're 90 to 100 minutes of battery life on that sucker. So I'm not opposed to it with what they did, but ostensibly, I think TDP control and perhaps GPU clock are kind of like a thing that they want to have for official support, perhaps. Basically, if it's not there, then I don't know if they're going to officially recognize it.
So when you say TDP control, are you saying in addition to performance profiles, or are you talking about just TDP as a separate slider?
Yeah, the slider is completely omitted. It's not
you know what? Because I'm sitting here. I don't think I'm allowed to put it on screen, but I have because it's still under embargo. I have the Legion Go S, and it has performance profiles, but it doesn't have separate TDP control. At least not that I know. I've only had it for less than 24 hours, so most of that time has been downloading stuff and installing it. I haven't had a chance to. On the ROG Ally X, are there performance?
Nothing.
So low, medium, high, kind of like we have on Steam Deck? No?
Yeah, no, okay. I'll power back on again, but I didn't see it. The only thing, even GPU clock control is the only thing that's there, and it does nothing. It just has 0.
Okay. Good to know. Well, I mean, it's still early days. I'm sure that stuff is going to change.
Ultimately, I think it's still a worthwhile starting place, because where it was before, when I did it a month and a half ago, it was not good at all. Because all the buttons and controls were kind of wonky. None of the back pedals worked. Now you have the quick access menu button works. So that didn't prior. So all the stuff that you would expect it to do operates as it should. And if you're not really finicky about it and just want to have good battery life and fine performance, then you're already in a good enough spot for where it is.
Rich, you were one of the first people to put Bazite on, a device like it was the Ally X, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So are you tempted?
Specifically one of the first on Ally X. Certainly not one of the first to put Bazite on some, on
Fair.
portable devices. Yeah.
Are you tempted to switch away from Bazite and install SteamOS, or are you going to stick with Bazite, do you think?
I will probably, I'll install SteamOS just because I have to try it and see how it's going so far. But I wouldn't say I'm tempted. I definitely, from what I'm hearing, I'm like, oh yeah, like it'll get better quickly. And once it does, I'll be more kind of attracted to it. But right now I'm pretty happy with Bazite, and Bazite does have like TDP controls and stuff like that. So, they've had, the team has had quite a bit of time, now kind of building up different components and things like that. So, it's not surprising that Steam and Valve will have to catch up to that, but I'm excited to see where it goes for sure.
Russ,
Yeah.
Are you installing SteamOS on non Steam Deck hardware, or are you going to stick with what you already have installed on stuff?
So I'm running. So the one I'm tempted to is the original Legion Go. I'm still running Windows on that.
Same.
And I've always been a little bit concerned about these controller support. I know Bazite has it and whatnot, but I'm curious to see if I put it on the Legion Go and I pop off my controllers, do I have FPS mode? Like, how are those things going to work? My ROG Ally white one, I keep that on Windows too because I have the XG Mobile external GPU thing, and so I'd also be curious. I don't want to put Steam on it and then not have access to my external GPU, and then my Ally X is running Bazite. And so, yeah, I'm kind of in Rich's boat where it's like, I'll wait and see, if it ever gets feature parity. But right now, Bazite has so many great little features. You can double click on your little QAM button and it'll pull up like the purple menu, right? And you can do things like change out your colors and all that kind of stuff. And
right.
Those things, like, I think are really mature right now. And so I would want Steam to catch up first. I do like, honestly, the way Carrie's talking about, there's no like TDP controls and whatnot. I'm like, fine, there's no TDP controls on the Steam Deck either. And I'm just, I just want to turn on a game and play it. And if they cover that, you know what I mean? Like, I know you can do those things in the Steam Deck, but that's not something I do, right? I just play it. And so I want to get to that point with the other ones too. Because right now with like my Ally X and Bazite, I'm always going and changing out my performance profiles, and I'd rather not. So.
Siri, when you use your, oh my God, my phone. Sorry. When you guys use your, and I apologize to everybody who's watching if your phone is going off. But when you are using your other devices that are not Steam devices like the ROG Ally or the Ally X, that kind of stuff, which I assume that you have because you've built the female end that clamps onto the back of your devices. Do you run just as Windows or do you run Linux on those?
Yeah, I'm with Russ on this one. Like, for me, my time to game is the most important metric. Like 3 days ago, I had a Legion Go photo shoot, and I could not get it to run blueprints. I ran blueprints, and it ran at 1 frame every 3 seconds, and I was like, I could go in and tinker with these settings, but I have a model that I'm like photo shooting with. So like, time to game, I don't know if that's a metric of any sort, but I feel like we should track that. Because like, I know, like I have a PC, I'm a PC gamer, and I do like to tinker with settings, but portably, it's so important to me to just have the thing run and have the thing play. And with the SteamOS news, this was the first time I was like, I am gonna install that sucker everywhere. Once it gets to stability and all the settings are there and everything, if it mimics my Steam Deck experience, I am putting it on everything. That's all I need. So
yeah, for me, that's pretty much the same. That's really all I need, because anything that I do that is like not gaming related, I just do that stuff on my Mac, and I don't need to do computing things on my handhelds. It's I can understand there's a lot of people out there that want to do that. They like to have one device to do everything on. I am more of a unitasker. I use this device for this, I use that device for that, and I use this device for this, and it just makes my experience just a little bit better. But there's definitely a lot of different ways to look at it. When we look at the patch notes for SteamOS 3.7.8, which were released, was it earlier today or was that yesterday? I think it was today, wasn't it?
The days are blending. I think it was today.
Yeah, it was today. Okay. So they switched to a new Arch Linux base. They switched to a new Linux kernel 6.11. They updated Mesa graphics driver base. They also shipped a new version of Plasma 6.2.5. And of course, they added in all the stuff that works on other hardware. I'm not a Linux guy, so I'm going to be depending on the Linux guys here that are on the show. Are these super important changes that the end user is going to feel, or are these more behind the scenes stuff? I see Kerry nodding his head. What do you think, man?
Yeah, so there's a number of them. Going to the latest kernel, there's also like other features that, why is the name escaping me? I want to say like fast sync, but it isn't. There are features that are in the latest kernel, so along with the latest Mesa version, because the latest Mesa version, even though Valve decouples the RADV driver from Mesa, which is atypical, typically whenever you download Mesa, it comes with the driver kind of bundled together, so it's like one and the same. Valve actually decouples that, so the RADV driver is separated from Mesa. Now, Mesa itself, there have been updates to that. There was one specific update where there was a specific problem, like in Vulkan, like how it was operating, where you would basically just waste cycles, and that was corrected. So there's lots of like bug fixes that you can say that just really streamline. Basically, it's like this culmination of all of these additions and fixes that help overall. Like, it may not give you an appreciable performance improvement, but it should give you an appreciable consistency improvement. And the other part that they did with the Plasma update is that you have like cryptography is now enabled, so you can have like, BitLocker type of stuff, like, so desktop use, people not using it as a gaming thing only, like actually using SteamOS as a Linux desktop. So they're pushing forward on that front as well. So it's multifaceted. There's a lot of parts there that are moving, but ultimately it's there's a lot of important things that are there. There's one kernel change that I think that they're still not in, but forgive me, I'm drawing a blank on it. But where they are right now is a solid foundation.
Before I called on Kerry, Rich, you looked like you were about to say something.
Not. I think Kerry has covered most of it. I was going to say really that those do usually come with, like, I wouldn't say typically like substantial, like for the end user, but they are usually stability improvements in both graphics drivers and just drivers in general. So it's always good to see that stuff. I didn't know that Plasma 6.2.5 brings it up to having cryptography. That's actually really exciting. Not necessarily for me, but I know that like the Steam Deck in particular, right? And these handhelds are portable devices. And so like, I know that there are Linux users out there that want to be able to encrypt their portable devices, and rightfully so. So it's good to hear that brings that
I think I saw somebody say, now nobody can see what Skyrim mods I have installed.
The one thing that I did forget to mention is that I don't think it's actually included in there is that they're no longer using the same scheduler. They're now using the AMD P-State scheduler. So I guess that is now mature enough for them. So if you were to imagine, especially newer devices that are going to be using like Strix Point, so HX 370, their heterogeneous cores and stuff, that is going to be largely improved, especially with trying to arrange P&E cores. So that's a huge bump as well, but it's kind of like behind the scenes that no one really cares about. And that being said, it was already pretty good, but you see Bazite has these features, right? So it's like one of the reasons why I want to show off Bazite, specifically like Cyberpunk performance. You'd always have Linux just dominating. It's just a game that loves cores and GPU.
That's awesome. All right. Anything that anybody wants to add to the SteamOS discussion before we move on to the next thing?
Nope.
All right. I think the only thing that I would like to is I don't know if I have a firm understanding of what is the barrier to official support from them. And I would like to have a better understanding of what that is. Almost like Steam Deck verified, but like SteamOS verified. Like what's official or not? Why? What's the difference?
When you say support, do you mean I've installed this on my Lenovo Legion Go and there's a problem?
I don't even know if it's support.
Is that what you mean?
I just mean they are classifying that there is only 2 official SteamOS devices. It's the Steam Deck and the Lenovo Legion Go S, and that's it. So what is that distinction is what I would like to know.
It probably is what Bill said. It probably is support, right? Like what are they willing to take a support ticket on? And for those 2 devices, that's probably it. It probably has to do with licensing on the part of Legion Go S, and that's my bet.
What kind of device you got? Oh, go pound salt.
Yeah, I wonder if you could answer this for us, Carrie, because you've installed it on what did you install it on? I've forgotten already.
The ROG Ally?
Ally.
Yeah, okay. You installed it on the ROG Ally. When you installed it, if you go into Steam Input, does it show like a graphic for the ROG Ally, or does it show like generic nonsense?
It says Asus ROG controller. I didn't see the graphic.
Does it look like? Because when I do it on the Lenovo Legion Go S, the graphic in Steam Input looks like the device I'm holding in my hand. And I saw somebody post earlier on Reddit, like it was like showing a PlayStation controller instead.
Right. No, well, let me find out for you. I know that it was there. The only thing that I would kind of like offer as an anecdote insofar as Valve recognizing things is someone just told me they're like, oh, I just installed it on my AYN Loki. And initially the landscape, the screen is like upside down. And when he did this latest update, it was the right way. So Valve would have to have had like, oh, I know what this system is. This is how the orientation of the display needs to be. So I would say that they are at least aware of a bunch of different handhelds that they have seen going into controls now. You
having
can
like
continue.
updated HDIDs for the displays, things like that, right? Presumably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's surprising while you're Loki, though. I mean, that's such a small scale handheld. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know if I still own mine. Like, that's crazy. And yeah, it's interesting. And I wonder too, like, you know, all these kind of improvements and whatnot they're doing, if there's any sort of sharing of information between the Bazite and Steam teams, like, you know, like, because I'm sure Bazite accounted for the Loki because they've had enough time to kind of get a lot of that feedback and whatnot. But I don't know about, you know, Valve. That's kind of interesting. Maybe they got that
nothing there
through some sort of
Steam controller.
So, okay. So it's not, I bet you that's one of the things that has to be locked in order for it to have official support. That's my guess, though, is that when you look at it in Steam Input, you can see what the device you're holding. What were you saying, Siri?
There could also just be different hardware configurations for each device, right? Like each console has different chipsets, different features even. Like the difference between the Go S and the Go is controllers and, you know, the Joy-Con style controller. So maybe they're just trying to tackle one at a time, one hardware configuration at a time, and slowly they'll roll out. And like you say, if it's a support thing, you want to get to a place of stability before you start fracturing out. And so you do want to, like, you know, put an arrow in the target and say, we're starting here. We'll slowly seep out to all these other hardware configurations and do it in a very controlled way. Just actually how they did the original SteamOS on the Steam Deck. You know, like it was a buggy mess to begin with. And they have been knocking them down left and right very quickly. So that's what I imagine. It's just their first shot at the hardware configuration, and then they'll expand later.
I suspect if you look at how fast they iterated at the beginning compared to now, they've really slowed down. And it seems like, oh, that's bad. No, they slowed down because they fixed most of the stuff, I think. Russ, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say there may be an element of like business like agreements as well. You know, like they're like, you know, yeah, we'll say officially supported, give us a cut, you know, like there may be something like that going on too. You know what I mean? Because if we're going to support the Legion Go S, what do we get out of it? You know what I mean? And so there might be something in the back, like behind closed doors that's happening as well.
I believe that I confirmed there is some like licensing. I don't know if it's paid or not, but like licensing, like SteamOS official, right? Like the logo that they have and all that. So we saw the branding materials 6 or so months back. Again, I don't know if that comes at a cost or what, but that exists at least as a branding piece.
Well, the other thing that they get is the proliferation of their operating system,
Right?
Yes.
Right? Like
People using
that
the
is
same
worth
store
way more than anything else.
Correct.
Like if I were in charge, and I should be, then I would say, you know what, put it on whatever the hell you want, because more people are using my operating system. That means more people are buying games from my friggin' store. And that's the thing that it makes me wonder if other companies want to do something like this, because one of the things that you always notice on the Windows handhelds is they have to have that UI that tries to hide and obfuscate Windows' ridiculous UI. When you look at the Lenovo one, the Asus one, they all have little stores in there. And I can't imagine a whole lot of people are buying through those stores. But I bet you that the number is not 0.
Yeah. But still, like, how many people are like, oh, let's check out the MSI store and see how much, this game is. Like, I don't know how many people.
Dozens of us. There's dozens.
That's the weird thing that I would like for Asus. They bury their own store behind like multiple menus to the point that I don't think anyone interacts with it. And Lenovo, it's like right at the fold. Like you can see it peeking out right under the fold.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that makes a lot more sense to me, is that they're going to try to have affiliate sales in there to kind of supplement what's going on there. But for Asus, it seemed really weird because it was just like buried. And I was for sure thought we were going to see more affiliate type stuff from them.
Yeah, Russ is saying, hey, pay us and we'll let you put our operating system on there. I think that these other companies should be like, hey, Valve, how about you give us like a 5% cut or a 2% cut, or we'll settle for a 1% cut and we'll ship it with your operating system, because then everybody benefits that way.
Yeah, I could see that going either way. I'm mostly thinking of the official license, like the official word, and whether or not that's like includes support, and then whether or not Valve's ready to take that on.
Yeah.
I'm very curious about that support, about whether or not like if I call up after installing it on my Lenovo Legion Go, if they're going to be like, get out of here.
I think the biggest problem right now for Valve and SteamOS is that it is so heavily aligned with AMD GPUs and to a lesser extent Intel GPUs, just because Mesa has really good Intel support. But it is not great for them because PC gaming is like 90% NVIDIA. And the solution that you're going to get on the Linux side for NVIDIA is not anywhere near as where it is for AMD. So I would, it's like almost like SteamOS has to get to a 20% market share for NVIDIA to be like, oh crap, now we have to do this thing. And then will they make it like RADV, like where, will they open it up? Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know. I have my misgivings about NVIDIA in certain regards, but I'm not even sure. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I installed Bazite on my desktop, and it has an NVIDIA card, and it worked great for a day. And then the next day I turned it on, it was black screen, and I had to go back to Windows. Whatever, it's not ready yet. And it's fine. It's fine. Just NVIDIA, pull your heads out of your butts.
Your time to game went to 6 hours.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. And by the way, that should be a metric if it's not, because I definitely use that.
TTG?
TTG. My son plays Marvel Rivals on PlayStation 5, and like he makes fun of me for my time to game because it always like shaders compiling and loading this, and he's just in the game immediately. I'm like, fine, you got me.
I always have to I have an extra remote that will be like it's a Bluetooth remote, and it like has motion controls to control the cursor, because I'm a controller player, and my computer's hooked up to my TV. So I'll start Marvel Rivals, and it always brings up that stupid splash screen that I got to click the yellow button, which drives me crazy because there's no controller input for it. Like I could push A all day. Nothing's happening.
Nothing.
So I always have to grab that extra remote and click. Boop. Same thing. Same thing on Doom, the Dark Ages. It pops up a thing is like, do you want to play? Yeah, I want to play. I launched the game, you dip.
Right.
Yeah. Launchers.
Yeah, they're the worst. Right? Well, speaking of Doom: The Dark Ages, I might as well pivot to a new topic. We were talking last week about how we saw that there were 30,000 concurrent users was the peak for Doom: The Dark Ages, and a lot of people, as they want to do, will say dead game. But then Bethesda put a post up on Twitter saying, "Thank you for making Doom: The Dark Ages the biggest launch in its history, 7 times faster to 3 million players than Doom Eternal." And then immediately people are starting to respond with players, not copies sold. And I thought that this would be a very interesting conversation. Is that a distinction that is worth making in the age of Game Pass and PlayStation? What the hell is it called? PlayStation Plus?
Whatever they changed it recently, right? It used to be PS Now, and now it's part of
15 seconds.
And now it's part of PS Plus, depending on the tier, I think.
Yeah. So, Rich, what do you think? Is that a distinction that is an important distinction to make?
Before I get to that, which I will do, I have to pat myself on the back, right? Rich's Razor.
Rich's
Razor. Yeah. We're going to make it a thing. So
hold on. Remind everybody who didn't see last week's episode, you people, why didn't you watch it? Tell them what Rich's Razor is.
Yeah. So I feel like we can use SteamDB player counts as a way to celebrate games that have really high player counts, but we can't really use it to denigrate games that don't. It's not the same thing. A game that has high player counts, we know did well. A game that has low player counts, we think didn't do well, right? Those are two very different things. And so Doom: The Dark Ages had a low player count compared to Doom Eternal. I think it was even low compared to Doom 2016, but certainly to Doom Eternal. And so a lot of people were down on it, but clearly this was the biggest launch for them regardless, right? Even if we're just limiting this to players, not sales, this is a bigger launch, clearly. Now, as to the question, is the distinction important? I don't care, right?
Right.
What do I care? If anything, I do only care about who's playing the game, not how much money it or Microsoft made. When it comes to my experience with other people, if I'm not in the office, but if I go to an office and we're talking at the water cooler about Doom, it doesn't matter how you played Doom versus how I played Doom. I bought it, you streamed it, or whatever. Who cares? It's just, you played it. Now we can talk about this together. Now, as to whether or not it allows id and Microsoft to make more Dooms in the future, that's going to be up to them to decide.
That's fair. Siri, what do you think about this? Is it a distinction worth worrying about?
I tend to think exactly like Rich. The thing that matters to me is being able to enjoy it with friends, and that, talking about this is also something Clair Obscur did phenomenally well. They were in the zeitgeist like no other game I've ever seen. And Reddit threads of just my feed was all Clair Obscur for a long time. I have not yet started on Doom. I don't know how you guys keep up with so many games. But yeah, to me, the distinction is important from a business perspective, but not from a customer's perspective. And those the KPIs, the key performance indexes, are different for the different stakeholders. So it's really what do you care about? If you want your favorite studios to succeed, that's one thing, versus if you want to have a good time playing the game, that's the other.
That's fair. Yeah. Russ, before I want to ask you two questions. Number one, I know that last week you had only played for Chapter 1 because you hadn't had time yet because the game had basically just come out.
Yeah.
Number one, have you played more? If so, what do you think? Number two, is this a thing that you care about?
Yeah, so I'm almost done with Chapter 2. I think at this point I'm just kind of going back and forth. I'm just taking it in 5 to 10 minute chunks, and I'm enjoying it. I haven't gotten to mechs or any of that kind of stuff yet. So I'm still I mean, I'm probably further along in this game than I ever got in Doom Eternal. You know what I mean? Like, I never really got far in that game. So I am enjoying it. And then in terms of, like sales versus players and whatnot, I don't really care. I think that eyes on task is probably the better metric. Like, how many people are putting their eyes on this game and enjoying it and experiencing it. And that is the players, right? That's the player count. And to me, that's probably more important because the other stuff comes afterwards, the sales and, that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like, I think we all can kind of think about this as like content creators or whatever. It's like, you need to get somebody like to really love your product first, get them there, get them to get it, get them to love it, be it your YouTube video or your attachment system or whatever. And then, once they see it and they get it, then they're going to like it and enjoy it and pay for it. You know what I mean? And so I think things that, like just getting it on Xbox and stuff like that and having it in Game Pass, getting it in people's hands is probably a smart move, especially for the third in a series of games. You have that sequel fatigue and everything else, just get it in people's hands, and if you look at that tweet from Bethesda where it says, that they had this big launch and everything, the first tweet after it with the most likes, whatever, is Xbox saying, "Can I get a hell yeah?" Right. So it's like, they are already like, they're not saying, "Oh, we're glad that you guys bought it." We're just like, they're celebrating that people are playing it. And, I've played so much of it and I haven't paid a cent for this game other than the money I put into Game Pass Ultimate. And so, I'm a player. I'm not a buyer at this point.
Do you guys know if Doom Eternal was on Game Pass?
It was.
Day one.
Was it?
Day one? Yes, because they already owned them at the point. So, yes.
Okay.
I'm going to say yes.
That's fair.
I don't remember.
Doom 2016 came later. Yes, I'm going to say yes because Doom 2016 has a weirdo licensing issue. Like, you can't get Doom 2016 on PC Game Pass, but you can get it on console because that was after the Bethesda Microsoft one, and Doom Eternal is available everywhere on Game Pass. So I'm going to say yes.
Speaking of the Bethesda Microsoft thing, the whoever
Activision.
was suing them, FCC?
FCC, yeah.
Was it FCC or FTC? FCC.
FCC.
Well, there was there were three letters that were suing them.
FCC. FTC is Federal Trade Commission. Wait, is it FTC?
It doesn't matter. There's three letters. They were suing them. They dropped their lawsuit. It's I don't know why they dropped it 2 years after it went through.
Yeah, they were still going through it. There was actually like they had one another thing that I was like, wait a minute, wasn't this already over? And like,
right,
this like a month ago.
Weird.
Yeah, they kept it going, and then they were going to fight again, and now they are not fighting again. So the third time or whatever, or fourth time, they're just like, yeah, whatever. We don't care anymore. I mean, like, also, I think when you look at where Microsoft is, it's like, all of the fears of them like becoming a monopoly with them, I think, are firmly gone at this point. It's like, oh, we got to fight. They can't be a monopoly. Like, guys, all of their games are on PlayStation. What?
Right.
They're the furthest thing from a monopoly. They're going everywhere. Like, there's nothing to worry about. And I guess perhaps someone got the memo. I don't know.
That is the perfect segue to this rumor mill story over on Reddit from Ecstasis. I don't know who that is. And I'm not going to lend credence and say that this person is right or this person is wrong. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in, let's just say, pretend that this is all right. They were basically, quote unquote, leaking stuff about what Microsoft plans to do. And there's a lot of stuff in here, so we obviously can't talk about all of it. But first off, it says Steam and Epic Store are going to be brought into the Microsoft Store. Apparently, Epic is already there, but somebody saw a new app called Steam DF Beta. Digital Foundry is probably getting ready to sue them. Has appeared in the Windows Microsoft Store, allowing users to install directly from the official store. That's very interesting, with the rumors that the next Xbox is just going to be a Windows device that has a skin over it. It seems like the leaks that we had seen, previously, where like there was a picture leaked and it had Steam on it. It seems like maybe that's actually true. Carrie, what do you think about this, man?
So I have a real. There's lots of things. I think it would be like super cool if it did happen. I still have a lot of reservations that official Xbox hardware that runs Xbox OS opens up more and becomes this more ubiquitous thing. And the only caveat that I say, the only reason that I would say that that would be a big problem is that Xbox hardware is not generalized hardware. Microsoft is taking care of everything. So they are taking care if there's a driver, they're doing it. No, like AMD's like not really involved with a lot of this stuff. Or if they are, they're working directly with them. And if you open it up to here's 60,000 games you have to support, and then someone's playing a game from the Steam thing on your Xbox and that's broken because of a driver, now it's a support thing and like you have to fix all this stuff. So it becomes this weird thing. Does AMD own this completely? How does that work? I also have misgivings about like where AMD's hand is in all this. Now, I think that, Microsoft has a tremendous amount of power, of like hidden power. And, I think, it's understood, but I mean, I don't think people fully appreciate how much power Microsoft has insofar as what the hardware makers do. When AI was coming around, literally as PC handhelds started gaining traction, AI started getting bigger. And then as soon as that happens, what happens? They have to put an NPU that does nothing on silicon. So it's just taking a big blob of space on silicon doing crap. And it's because Microsoft is like, we need that. And all of these handheld, all of the like Intel and AMD started putting NPUs on their APUs. So it's like,
can you define MPU for the audience that?
Yeah, the neural processing.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's just the AI subcomponent of it that will only do it, even if it doesn't have like full cache coherency, and it may not even be the best. It's like all of this stuff should just be bundled into the GPU anyway, and AMD is going that way with UDNA, so hopefully that just comes up and the silicon space for that is like one and the same, and we're going to be able to use that. But you look at the leaked specs of what the Asus Xbox handheld is, right? The Aerith Plus, it has an 8533 megatransfers memory controller. There has been no AMD anything with that fast RAM, like the fastest RAM. But apparently now that Microsoft's like, oh, we need fast RAM, everyone's like, oh, okay. Now that you said it, I mean, oh, why didn't I think of that? Like, it's just like, it's really bizarre to me that Microsoft just has to say something and then everyone just kicks into gear. So there's these mutually exclusive ideas to trying to marry those two like ideas together is, number one, how does an Xbox hardware work when it has to support a bunch of other crap, which I don't think it's going to do. And then on the other side, AMD has to have some reservations because Microsoft can be like, oh, I want this super awesome gaming thing with a Giganto GPU and all this other stuff. Now, AMD is now going to be competing on Windows stuff against Microsoft's uber crazy stuff that may be not very expensive. So it puts them in a position where they can't offer anything as good, or they're going to have to do that, which I think WizBiz reasons they're going to want to like slowly peter that out just so that they have something to sell the next year. So these are two conflicting ideas that I have with this entire arrangement that I don't see it happening. I think it's solely going to be on the PC side of things. So the Xbox PC app is going to be this front end that does more things and whatever, and it'll have Steam integration, but it'll be exclusively on the PC side. I still think that there's going to be an Xbox hardware that comes out later, at least one more generation. But we'll wait to see and see what happens.
Rich, do you think that we're just... Oh, go ahead, Siri.
I was just going to say that I believe Microsoft is forced to wield this power. Like there are market forces at play beyond, and every company interacts with every other company. And a company like Apple being so vertically integrated and not in a fractured ecosystem, they are then forcing Microsoft to play in that space, which then has a trickle-on effect of forcing NVIDIA and AMD and all these other players. And so if they don't wield that power, they're just going to be left in the dust for the rest of eternity, basically. Not to be so what's the word?
Doom and gloom?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So they just, they have to play. Everybody has somebody to answer to, stakeholders, market forces, etc.
So do you think the next Xbox will just be a Windows machine, or do you agree with Carrie that it will be an Xbox machine and it won't do all of these other things that Windows machines can do?
I hesitate to predict anything because, Xbox has tried for over what is it now? 20, 25 years to take over the living room. And they've had their hand in Xbox operating system forever, and they haven't been able to integrate the two. I would guess that they do Microsoft facet, like they offshoot, I would guess. I would hope, at least. I don't know.
Okay. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, I like that. I hesitate to predict anything, especially with Microsoft. There are so many interweaving topics here, and it's going to be hard to
It is
get this all out. But so I put this in the show notes, right? And one of the reasons I put this in there, I wanted to issue the same caveat that you did about Ecstasis. We don't know if any of this is true, but nonetheless, it's become a big topic, right? And one of the big reasons this has become a big topic is, how does Microsoft make money? Which goes back to the Doom conversation, right? Like, copies sold versus players playing. How does Microsoft make money? And right now, Microsoft is not in this position. And Jeff Grubb talked a lot about this on his video about this subject. It seems like what Microsoft is looking for at this moment is user acquisition, right? They're not necessarily looking for top line revenue on both or either games and or consoles. They're looking for just acquiring users that play video games that they can potentially spend more money on those games, not just the Dooms, but the Call of Duties that have cosmetics and things like that, right? The other half of that is kind of going back to what you were saying, Sari, about vertical integration and Apple. The other part of that is this 30%. They are giving up potentially their 30% to Steam and so on and so forth. But they also appear to be angling for Apple and others to also be giving up their 30%. And so they seem this. The reason hesitating to predict anything resonates with me is because I also hesitate to predict whether or not this is going to be Windows or whatever, but I am relying on what Microsoft has said. Microsoft has said they want to open up Xbox as a console, not necessarily to Windows, but open the store up so that other stores can be there. They have said that they're doing all of this to be basically compliant and ahead of regulation, EU regulation and potentially US regulation. I think what's also interesting here is calling back to Microsoft, the FTC or FCC dropping their lawsuit. It's a new administration, so that's interesting, right? Mm-hmm. The timing there. But also, this battle that they may be preparing for will require US laws to not change, but maybe the precedent changes where, the Apple App Store now will be giving up 30%. So if Microsoft wants to fight for that, they're going to have to do that in court systems that are...
This whole thing is crazy because that means that if in a world where this happens, all of a sudden PlayStation and Nintendo are going to be like, you have to allow these other stores on there, and Microsoft's like, ta-da!
I think that's what Microsoft is. I don't know that they're going to be successful, but that, to me, that feels like what they're trying to do right now, right? They're trying to make it and they're going to start with Apple and Google.
I don't want to bogart all the time. I feel like insofar as Game Pass if we were to take a look and take a step back, I have misgivings on the support angle and also AMD's own reluctance to want to do that from their own business angle. I have those strong feelings about people pushing back against it. At the same time, I have a very real, I've always looked at Roblox, Fortnite, and Minecraft as, oh crap, the new generation is not doing anything on our stuff anymore. The new generation is doing stuff on their stuff. All we have are these people that are dying. And we need to open this wide open to either try to accompany everyone else as fast as possible, or else we're going to be left in the dust with this thing that we have, and all we're going to be left with is Minecraft. I could see it from that angle, that they're open up the floodgates because doing it closed is hurting us because of all these other platforms. So I do agree from that angle, but there's just misgivings I have.
So
Go for it, Russ.
I was just going to say, Rich, both of you guys have made some points about like bringing in players, right? Like they're focused on getting people in, right? But I feel like they are talking out of both sides of their mouth because they also increased their prices for everything 3 weeks ago. Like you got to pay $730 now for their high tier Xbox Series X. Their first party games are going to $80, right? And one part of me thinks, okay, well, this just makes Game Pass a better deal, but I don't like the idea of Game Pass getting better because everything else is getting worse. You know what I mean?
One thing, Russ, I want to ask you a question on that. $730 is absolutely insane for a 2 terabyte Xbox Series X. I think it's like ludicrous. But
Right.
if that was $730 and it could play Steam stuff, does your opinion on the price change?
Yeah, it does. I mean, anytime you can add more functionality, it's always going to kind of help, right? And
Right, because then it becomes like a PC, right? It's like oh crap, this is a PC now. Like, oh no.
Yeah. Right. No, I totally get that. And I wouldn't buy that model. I'd buy the $600 model and get almost the same thing. But still, my point being in that they're not making it a good deal for us to be gamers right now. It's kind of what we talked about last week or the week before. It's like they are pushing us out and milking us dry. And if they want to get more players, then they got to really get us in, and I think that Game Pass is probably their path for that, but I just don't see the end game. Where are they going to start? When are they going to start making a profit and pushing that over to the developers who are making the games in the first place?
You make a really good point, Russ, and I think this is a good time to also, I mean, if it's not in the show notes, but the retro classics that they just brought out with the May update with the Antstream stuff is, if we were to talk about not just, because they're bleeding us dry, right? You can see it. They're just like squeezing us for everything they can, opening up the floodgates to squeeze those guys for whatever juice they got. And at the same time, I do agree with you that Microsoft, out of all these companies, has been more very like suit like business, where they're just like squeeze for money and that's it. And it's like, yeah, but what about our social capital? What about our cool capital? And they're like, screw that. That's worthless. And they devalued that themselves. And they had Halo, and now where is Halo? Like, I mean, it's like as plain as day with what they had and what they have now, and they let that go. And I see the retro classics things as some type of clawing back, getting their social capital back, even though I don't think it's the best implementation of it. And you could argue licensing and stuff, because the Stella emulator has GPL stuff that can't be done. So they're like skirting this by streaming Atari games to you.
Right.
So I get it, but there's a part of me that wonders if they have actually wisened up. You look at the Fallout TV series doing well. Now you have what's the other TV series that just is another Microsoft property?
Halo.
No.
I was going to say, don't say Halo.
No, Halo's
junk. Come through the screen at you.
There's another.
Did they do a Borderlands one?
There's a Borderlands one coming.
Well, there was a movie.
Yeah, but there's
it was apparently awful.
Yeah, Borderlands. No, but there's another. I feel like there's another Bethesda possibly, or another Microsoft property that is becoming a TV series or something. Let me go look this up.
All right. Well, while he's looking this up, I'm gonna ask another question. Carrie and Rich and Russ and Siri, you're all coming up with these great, conversation points about this. And when Rich brought up the idea that Microsoft is saying, hey, we're going to forego our 30% so that we can force other companies to forego their 30%, because we are all about Game Pass. And they have been all about Game Pass this entire generation. If everybody gives up their 30% because maybe they get sued and then they have to, does that drive up the cost of consoles? And then, because that's where they make their money, is on that 30%. So now the cost of a PlayStation, whatever, 6 is going to be even more than it was this time when they just raised the price. And it's going to be even more than the new Xbox prices. Do we see the cost of non-PC gaming, which is essentially all PC gaming at this point? Do we see this non-PC gaming going up so much that it makes it like one of the benefits of console gaming is it's cheap? Do we see that happening? Rich, you're nodding.
Yeah, I'll take it one further. I think we see Sony PlayStation exclusives become worse, right? Like what that means is all of that money that they just pour into their big budget exclusive games, that bucket becomes a lot smaller, and they have a lot less money to spend on a game that's not a live service game that doesn't bring them like recurring revenue. So when we're talking about The Last of Us and I don't remember Sony games all of a sudden, but like Astrobot, stuff like that, right? God of War, exactly.
And then you have the what's the oh my goodness, the Beastie Boys Intergalactic.
Yeah. Beastie Boys. I like that poll. Yes.
Yeah, I had to string it along. I was like, what's the thing?
Yeah.
Returnal 2, that's mine. That's
yeah. What's the name of that?
So
Sorry. Yeah.
Something like that.
I'm looking
I
forward
love
to
that studio. Yeah.
Housemarque.
Yes.
Yeah, Housemarque, especially when they made Resogun for PS4 and PSV. Yeah, it's like,
good one.
Yeah, there's huge Housemarque fan.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that bucket gets smaller. And like, hopefully those games they sell enough to sustain themselves, but history has shown that it's very hit or miss, right? Some of those games sell very well and do well, but some other games like The Order 1886 and Concord, which is not a single player game, but nonetheless, some games do not sell well and don't recoup what they make at all.
This is such an interesting topic to me. Like for me, or to bring in the business perspective of it, they are looking to increase their quality of revenue. You know, like relying on a consumer to buy one game consumers are fickle, you know, like, and sure. You're always looking at the lifetime value of a customer, and transitioning people from paying for individual games into a subscription model skyrockets your lifetime value of a customer by tenfold. So, you know, that you get this with like Netflix is a very classic example of this. They're pouring billions of dollars into media and you just get a subscription out of it. And the thing that Microsoft probably wants the most is consistency of revenue so that they can predict their next quarterly earnings, because they cannot miss their earnings or they get hammered, right? And so they are looking to convert those customers into much higher quality for their revenue so that they can get annual recurring revenue. They can much more consistency and predictability.
When you hear somebody say quality of revenue, you know that they know business stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So how's that revenue? What's the quality of it like? Oh, that's A grade. That's A grade revenue right there.
Yeah. I gotta just throw a little on my teeth.
Look at that revenue. It's all C grade.
Get that revenue out of here.
It is actually really funny. Like, you know, I'm a mechanical engineer by trade, and I just started designing these things, and I just want to design cool stuff, cool shit all the time. And I've kind of been thrust into this e-commerce world and all these metrics that are just like, it makes your head spin, but it's really fun to learn. So
Siri, I actually have a question for you, and like tinfoil hat time. This is the type of stuff that I love to just like do. Is we have known Microsoft to be acquiring all these companies, and there has been this like since like 2021 they're like, oh, Microsoft's they're gonna be coming out with all of these games like nonstop, and then there was nothing for like 4 years, and then we see since November there has been just this constant stream of super high quality games coming out month after month. And you have it right now that when those games are also launching on PlayStation, Microsoft is in the 5 spots of their top 10 most sold on PlayStation. So it's like, you look at all this, and tinfoil hat me is saying, did Microsoft purposefully withhold all this stuff so that they could, like, you know, because they knew that to your point, getting a subscriber is 10x hard, but they already had this level of subscribers. So they knew that they kind of had this safety amount, so to speak. And if they just did this 1 or 2, it's not enough. They have to come in there with guns blazing for people to just be like, whoa, Game Pass is kind of nuts. Like, how do I not be a subscriber? Like,
Game Pass akimbo.
Yeah, Game Pass akimbo. Like, there's a joke that my buddy and I had like years ago when projectors were like the best thing that you can get for like a, you know, nice home theater setup, and we were looking at super expensive ones, and it was $150,000 projector, and it was like, I don't know, like $120,000 off, and he's like, geez, how can I afford not to buy this? And I feel like, like Game Pass is like been doing so much that people are like, geez, like I'm just like wasting money at this point. Like, look at this. And I there's a part of my brain that's wondering if they were just like, holding it back. And I'd like to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, predominantly there's a few different forces at play. One is a company always wants to be bleeding edge. And so they are constantly making guesses at where technology is going. And that's one aspect. It's like if you guess wrong, you just have to shift. Like I don't think anybody at Microsoft saw Steam Deck coming and the portability market really exploding. And so they probably had to shift what their assumptions were. And then the second thing is there's always a gigantic lag from product conception and idea to execution to then launch. And any number of things can get in the way. Like, for example, I actually have a gigantic backlog of products that I've been meaning to release, but I haven't been able to because I've had to react to tariffs. There's only a certain workload that I have that I can take on, et cetera, et cetera. And so those two forces that are, it's just a constant, it's a constant game of mitigating risk left and right at all times, because you need to execute properly. Obviously, you have to have a good game, you have to have good accessories, whatever, but you also need to do it timely. And to do both of those together is really tough, especially because what I'm finding is the product side is table stakes. It's like you have to have a good product no matter what. And so then the question is, you are forced into this upper tier of product and you must execute on the timing perfectly. And so there's a million things. And with gaming, especially, like you hear some games in development, like how long was Cyberpunk in development? Or even Clair Obscur was what, 6 years, 7 years or something.
Yeah.
And technology changed so much, and it's just this constant cat and mouse game. And you just have to keep up with the market forces like that. So
I think
it's a little bit of both.
Yeah,
I
think in response to Carrie, your idea of this tinfoil hat thing, I think they just got lucky. Microsoft got lucky this year, that all the things kind of combined, because it's been for the past several months where I'm like, every month there's a game that comes out and I'm like, that just justified my Game Pass Ultimate because it's $25 a month or whatever it is, right? But that game I would have had to pay $70 for, and I got it that month. Oblivion or whatever. Next month, Clair Obscur. Next month, Doom Dark Ages. There's been so many. South of Midnight. Like I feel like the past 4 months I've like had a justification every month, and I Microsoft's got a lot of smart people. I don't think they're that smart. I think that they just got lucky.
It's just pulled a homer.
I think that, I think that history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And you look at the Wii U, horrible failure. At the end of the Wii U, I guarantee Nintendo said, you know what? We got all these games that we've been working on. We ain't shipping anything for the Wii U. We're going to hold it all back. And that's why at the end of the Wii U cycle, there was nothing. It was a desert of nothing to play. But then when the Switch came out, it was banger after banger after banger. And this is the same, like this is basically Microsoft. It's not a new console generation, but it's actually kind of lucky for them that it doesn't have to be a console generation because it's just Game Pass. Because as far as Microsoft is concerned, Game Pass is their console and they don't care where you play it. So I don't think that, except Steam Deck. Although honestly, I think that if Valve would be okay with it, I bet you Microsoft would be okay with it too.
Do you think Valve is the reason? They have EA Play.
I mean, so does Microsoft.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I think Game Pass is like the one sore spot for most Steam Deck owners. Like, Steam Deck people love playing on Steam, but they're looking at Game Pass like, man, that would be nice.
Well, I do think you're right, but at the same time, if I could get a game on Game Pass, then I might not buy it on Steam, and that might be why Valve would say no, thank you.
Right? Yeah. Like I think like could you imagine if you had Game Pass and had downloaded the Steam version of it as long as you had the game? That would be like the best of both.
I would do a friggin' backflip.
Yeah, like
there'd be a Bill-shaped cloud.
Yeah,
yeah. It's it's it is real. It's a really weird situation. So why haven't I think that to your point, I think Microsoft does value Game Pass a lot, and they don't allow it on Steam Deck for specific reasons because they are still trying to get people onto their own thing. Like I think it's Microsoft's doing that we don't have.
That's my take too. Thinking back to what you were saying about Andstream and like sort of clawing back some of what they lost. That's how I feel about Windows and Windows gaming, PC gaming. I feel like they recognize that they let it go, and she found another husband, and Microsoft is trying to get us all back, right? Like and like Microsoft can't get us back by putting Game Pass on Steam. I don't know how to fully like verbalize why that's the case, but like to really get us back, like it has to be not on Steam's terms, right? And that's what Microsoft wants. I don't know if that's true, but that's how I feel about Microsoft's motivations.
It also doesn't have to be an either or. It could be both things can be true at the same time. Valve wouldn't want it, and maybe Microsoft wouldn't want it either. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, Siri. What would you say?
Okay. I'm curious. Like, I'm actually not a Game Pass subscriber, and I am eyeing it right now. But I'm curious. Like, to me, there's no real downside to being a subscriber to both, and then having those ported into Steam. That's just one. Like, I would be a subscriber immediately.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that if Microsoft allowed Game Pass on Steam Deck, I think their subscriber like if you have 5 million people on Steam Deck that didn't have Game Pass, you would have 5 million new subscribers almost instantly. Like if I could like a lot of people want it.
Yeah.
And the other side of that coin is if Game Pass was available on Steam Deck, I bet you would see a lot more Steam Decks sold.
Yeah, I'm totally in agreement. I've always wondered why Microsoft has been so hesitant. Like it's like, man, Game Pass would be baller on Steam Deck. Like that would solve a lot of. Also, because not for nothing, Microsoft really needs to relax a lot of their whole certification nonsense that's happening because they are their own worst enemy in that regard. And there's tons of times where it's like Starfield, like their own company. This like Starfield, we pushed out an update, and it's like, well, where is it? It's like it's only on Steam. Like, not on your own thing? Oh, no. It'll be there. Who knows? Sometime. Yikes. And that's how it is. It's like you on the PC Game Pass side of things, you're waiting for an update that has been live on Steam for a week. And it's like, goodness gracious, guys. Like, come on, pick it up. Like, on delay, let's go.
Yeah, the thing is, though, too, that I feel like if Game Pass was on the Steam Deck, yes, we would see a lot more Game Pass subscribers, but would we see fewer Steam game sales or sales like
oh, right,
Oblivion or whatever, right? Like I'm not going to buy it on Steam if I can play it on my Steam Deck via Game Pass, which I am already subscribed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the very least, the concurrent user number would be a lot higher for a lot of things.
So my expectation or my belief, right? I don't know if this is true, but I would assume it's true that EA Play, right? Like that subscription when it's bought through Steam, I would assume that Valve takes the 30% of that subscription fee.
Oh, right, yeah,
right.
I totally believe that's the case, but I think it's like the same thing, like how Epic is like demanding Apple do it. Like if someone subscribes to EA Play outside of Steam, Steam doesn't get anything of it, but if they do it from inside Steam, Steam gets it.
Can you download Steam EA Play games from Steam if you didn't subscribe to EA Play in Steam? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know, but I would assume
EA Play
so.
Through Game Pass Ultimate, but I always get it through Game Pass Ultimate. I should try to do that.
Yeah.
I should try to install that.
So
Go to the youtube.com/thefox to find out.
Yes. But yes, I wonder if a Game Pass came to Steam, I would assume the same thing, right? And that's where I think like Microsoft isn't ready to give up 30%.
Oh, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's going to that'll like impact all of their like forecasting of like whatever they have. Yeah, for sure. If that's the case, 100%, that's got to be a big no.
Yeah.
There's also this concept of, are you in a market where the pie is expanding? Or are you all fighting over the same number of customers?
Yes.
And it's you can forecast it to a million years in the future, but it's really going to fall on what does a C-suite wake up on the side of the bed that morning. Mm-hmm. And that's probably why we see these two different approaches to this. And it feels like they're talking out of both sides of their mouth because they probably are. They have one day they do one strategy and another they do both. And you could possibly do both and make different business decisions on both of those different philosophies. So that's probably what they're probably trying to get the best of all worlds with their execution of their whole ecosystem.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right. I know that we have a hard out in about 20 minutes, so we probably only have time for one more topic. Rich, pick one of the topics and let's talk about it, man.
Okay. So I didn't hear. Should we talk about the BioShock 2K? I didn't hear about this. All right.
Hoping you're going to bring that up.
Did someone already read this? Can someone inform me on what's going on?
All I know. Oh, good.
Go ahead, Russ.
I was going to say, all I know is that they are planning an announcement, is what we've heard, about the BioShock franchise. And so I was hoping we'd talk about it just so we can wish list, what is it going to be? That's it.
So, okay, let me ask you a question, Russ. Would you prefer a return to Rapture? Because it says that's possible that the focus is going to be on Rapture again. So for those of you who have not played BioShock, number one, go play BioShock. It's insanely good. Okay. The first two games take place underwater in this city called Rapture. The third game takes place, what was the name of the city? Columbia?
Yeah.
Columbia? Yeah, in a city in the sky. That's why everybody called it Skyoshock, called Columbia. They're saying that BioShock 4 could be set in Rapture again. What would your preference be, Russ?
So I don't think it's BioShock 4. I mean, you can use the name, but I think it's going to be a remaster of the original.
Oh, well, that's
I think it's going to be
because we already have
full on return. Yeah, well, we have a remaster that's really feels very 2008 or whenever they made it. You know what I mean? And so I would like a new retooling, rescaling, using like modern control schemes and kind of just aesthetics and map layouts that we're used to today in 2025. I would like to see that with the original BioShock, because I love the original BioShock and I don't like playing through it.
He wants what he wants is he wants Oblivion remake, not Last of Us remake. That's a remake.
No.
Oblivion remake is essentially the same game with updated visuals.
Yeah, I don't want that. I want a full on like new gameplay. I'm trying to think of a good remaster where I think remake is another word, maybe.
Yeah, remake.
Metroid Prime, maybe.
Yeah, Metroid Prime remaster.
Where the control scheme was like new, like it was a dual stick game. Like they redid stuff. Now the control scheme in BioShock is not bad, but I don't think you have aim down the sights. You only have like you throw your plasmids and then you can shoot, but you don't aim down your sights. You can in BioShock Infinite, but not in the original BioShock. So things like that, I would like to see. Just some more modern control scheme stuff that would probably change the way you play that game. And so that's the kind
I'm
of thing
thinking.
I don't want to see
Resident Evil 4 when you're talking about that sort of like remake.
There we go.
Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be the gameplay guy. I think that what I would like to see from like BioShock 4 or even a remake re-envisioning is more ImSim. Give me more ImSim. Like they did a good job of making mainstream immersive sim with BioShock 1, and then they peeled back, right? Like they pulled back. It was less ImSim as it went on, and I was like, no, we're going in the wrong direction. And I feel like Breath of the Wild and Half-Life 3, maybe, right? The rumors of what we're going to see from Half-Life 3 with like more physics, more you can make things that are, or you can have materials that are like more flammable than others, things like that. That's the sort of thing I would love to see from in a BioShock universe.
I feel like I understand, like especially like BioShock 1 was like, oh, just electrocute the water and it'll electrocute them.
Exactly.
I think it was like, you had a very, I would say it's very, I wouldn't say it's superficial, but I would say it's an easy enough ImSim to interact with, because it has like a very simple domino effect of like what you should expect. And BioShock 2 felt like kind of like a zanier take on that.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I like zanier. I like more cerebral type of stuff, and I would like them to go in a cerebral sense, much like how Portal 2 and this, hypothetical Half-Life 3, like that type of thing. I would totally agree with you. That would be dope if they went back to a hardcore 1, kind of like, simple on the face value, but then also has some like hidden layers underneath. I think I would like that a whole bunch.
They just got to
Just
get
to
rid of the
define
backtracking.
a term for the people who are watching, ImSim is immersive simulator
Yeah.
or
Yes.
simulation.
Simulation,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Russ?
I was just going to say that, another thing I would like them to solve is all the backtracking in the first game. Like, that's what kills me about this game is the amount of just, okay, you got there now, you got to get all the way back. And they just kind of, they bloated out their own map. And so
Right.
I would like to see something a little bit better in that way. Again,
Like fast
using
travel?
like the creature comforts that we have today in 2025. I'd like
I
to
mean, you had all those pipes that the girls went through. So it's like,
yeah.
you
have like a lore way of doing that
sisters.
already.
Yeah.
just like you already have a crap ton of pipes all over the place. So I don't know why you wouldn't just like lean on that.
Yeah.
I think you can call in a Big Daddy suit and then you climb in it and it automatically pilots you to the next thing and then kicks your ass out.
Dude, man. BioShock, what a great game.
Yeah.
It is. Siri, what do you think about BioShock remake, remaster, or BioShock 4? What would you rather have?
I would rather have a remaster. I actually have not played BioShock, surprisingly.
What?
I know.
Oh.
Shame for shame.
Take his gamer card, everybody.
Dude, you got that's like immediate. Like,
But okay, we'll do right before Clair Obscur finish. Yeah, the Metroid Prime remake, I freaking loved, and that is another game that I did not have had completed before, and I fell in love with it. And so, if they could do the same thing, if they could bring in those quality of life improvements, I would buy it in a heartbeat and experience it.
that's going to be so insane for a bunch of people that have not played it. The memes, like the resurgence of them is going to be
all the smug people who have played it and be like, oh, you didn't know that.
yeah.
Do you guys
We
think
will
I
not
should wait?
spoil it.
Do you guys think I
Wait.
should wait?
No, you should play it right now.
Good
It
Lord.
is incredible.
It's taking everything that I can to not spoil everything for you.
I'm telling you, I will never spoil anything about this game. It has one of my favorite, probably top 3 video game moments of all time in it.
Easy.
When it happens and you're just like,
It's crazy.
I can't believe it. I can't believe that they told the story that way. It's so
masterful.
good.
It is masterful.
It really
All right.
is.
All right, I'll do it this weekend if I can get some time.
It's
Just
crazy
be
good.
prepared for a lot of backtracking and all the. So the game came out in 2007, I think, right? So it's got all those mechanics, but
But the game
still
runs at like
wonderful game.
2 watt. So I mean, like you could like finish it in
Beautiful
one
on
battery.
Steam Deck. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's
Amazing.
crazy.
Let me ask you guys a question. Hacking in BioShock. I mean, obviously Siri can't jump in here. Would you want the same hacking system that they had? Because I gotta admit, it was fun for like 3 times, and then I never wanted to do it again.
It's the tubes thing, right? Where all the
Yes,
tubes are going.
You got to connect the tubes.
Yeah,
It's
I
just a
hate
little
that.
puzzle.
It's like the iPhone games that you see people playing every now and again, or like that one that people play all the time, where it's just like moving.
The
the
beaker, the liquids to different beakers.
You're just doing. It's literally just a mini game, is what it comes down to, and it outstays its welcome.
I enjoyed the puzzle mini game, and I enjoy that beaker game, at least the version that is in. There's this game on Steam, I forget the name now, that is like all the ads for mobile games that don't actually exist, and they don't, right? So like there's this game on Steam that leans into that, and it's like, oh, it's those ads, but here is the actual game that you want to play.
Yeah, those games that you actually
yeah.
It's got like a really long name, right?
Yeah, it's this
like,
tremendously long name. Yeah.
right.
And so I enjoy that game. So what they should do is they should just make it a slider, right? Like if you don't want these puzzles, we won't show it to you. And if you're someone like me that not only enjoys them, but I want them to be a little bit tougher, you can move that up and make the puzzles harder. That's what I would like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally all for that. That's like, I think that that's a perfect opportunity to allow people the convenience of just insta solving it. Of like, okay, yes, I know, no problem. Here, connect this thing. Just press this button. And I think that there should be a thing like that's an instant thing where I would feel okay with like, what, someone took the time to do this. They deserve to get like whatever ammo or whatever like resource that's just, you know what I mean? It's just like, I think that's like a easy solve to kind of satisfy both camps, and I'd think it's like worthwhile. Especially, I feel like sometimes in BioShock there was difficult times where I was backtracking just for ammo. I feel like it's been so long. Was it like 2008?
Ammo sounds familiar, but yeah, like those puzzles, like they were like actually, in my opinion, from what I remember, well designed versus like the Spider-Man puzzles, which are not like bad, but it just, I don't think they were well designed. It's just like, oh yeah, the Doc Ock puzzles, like that stuff, it was just like kind of blah.
I would like, instead of a slider, for it to be a lore thing where you can find a key that you could just jam in there and it'll auto hack. It's the auto hack key. But if you don't use it, then Carrie's idea of getting extra ammo, that sounds really cool.
That's a very immersive sim idea of you, Bill.
Whoa. Yeah. I didn't even know what that was 5 minutes ago. All right, everybody. Listen, we only have about 10 minutes left before we got to wrap up. So, Siri, I need you to tell everybody where they can find the cool shit that you make. You're muted, man.
Our website is getmechanism.com. We have so much in the pipeline. We're fairly community oriented, meaning like our Discord is always popping off. Actually, I just introduced a new voting system for people to vote like for their next mount that they want to see. Got some great learnings from that, but we'll be kicking off a bunch of those projects. And Switch 2 stuff, I'll probably try to announce next week. I don't know when this is going to air, but
probably Sunday.
Probably Sunday. So, okay, yes, next week on Sunday.
Sorry.
Tons of cool stuff in the works. I'm very excited. You know, like the bulk of our stuff kind of tailors to the maker. Like you can 3D print stuff, so you can expect some modularity in our future products. But at the same time, you don't have to be that way. And so, you kind of get the best of both worlds. If you want to tinker, you can. If not, your time to game is 30 seconds.
Nice.
So check it out, getmechanism.com. Our Discord link is there. Feel free to jump on. I'm on there all the time. I'm effectively a one-man crew. So you're talking to me, and feel free to jump on and say hi.
I also want to shout out your ads. Like I've been watching like YouTube shorts, and sometimes a Mechanism ad comes up, and I'm surprised at the level of quality. I'm like, oh, this is good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Like the more I get into this, the more I realize like, again, good product is table stakes, but a good business is marketing. And one step beyond that is content. And so you guys actually hold the keys to the kingdom for good businesses. So I really appreciate everything that you guys do. And yeah, it's just any one of you guys would be fantastic businessmen, and you would be able to get anything off the ground, which is what you see actually with a lot of YouTubers. So yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Well, speaking of content, Russ, what kind of content can we look forward to over at youtube.com/retrogamecore?
Well, just yesterday, I released a video about the Amranic RG34XXSP, and it was actually Bill's unit that he sent over to me. So thank you, Bill, for sending that over.
Sure thing.
So, they can't send. Amranic has got a new provider that's shipping, and I don't know what kind of black market things they're doing to avoid tariffs, but they couldn't send it to Hawaii, and so they were just like, "Oh, we can't send you one." But Bill got his, and he was like, "You know what? I'm not going to make a video anytime soon." So he sent it over to me. So super awesome. So that came out, and then I'm working on a Steam Deck video. I think I talked about it last episode, but it's actually coming out. It'll be out by the time this video comes out. Just talking about 3 years with the Steam Deck and, how I use it and some of the things I like about it and some of the drawbacks that we still have for it. And it's crazy. Like I spent the past 2 weeks just, I've been using my ROG Flow Z13 as like my main, like kind of big PC handheld kind of thing, just propping it up and using that. And I just forced myself to turn that thing off, Steam Deck for 2 weeks, right? And man, I fell all sorts of in love with this Steam Deck again. Like I was just so amazed with it. That's all I did. That's why I said I've been playing a lot of games lately. I've just been playing a lot of Steam Deck. Like this has been crazy, jumping from game to game to game. It's been really fun. Anyway,
still amazing.
Yeah.
Carrie, what are you working on, man? What's new?
This week I actually got a lot done video content wise. Last two videos that I did was I did the SteamOS install on RGLI. I did that just before getting onto this podcast. That's already live. I did a video on the RG34XDX SP, and I have to do a follow-up video to just basically confirm that, no, it actually is a 780 by 720 by 480 display, and I actually have evidence now to support that. So that's great. And I'm just that's probably me a pretty fast video. Outside of that, the only other video that I'm going to have coming up is Asus shipped me, they have like a smaller desktop that's actually like old school desktop. You know how like, computers used to be like horizontally placed. That's what this is designed for. And so I'm reviewing that, and it has a 5060 Ti in it. So it's the first 5060 Ti that I've had my hands on. So I've been going through that and just trying to find where its limit is, and just trying to find a way to store that data in a nice way. I'd like to have like a good data set for this.
Very cool. Rich, you still on hiatus or
Sabbatical.
Sabbatical is the word.
Sabbatical?
Yes, yeah. And I'm mad I didn't think of this earlier, but I know what I want to do when you come around to me every week is I'm going to shout out another video. So I was watching, I was joking about Tech Dweeb earlier. His latest video, Nothing Lasts Forever, is an amazing video. He's been doing more of these like heartfelt, like touching, like personal videos. And this one is about the Miu Mini being discontinued, but he just weaves in like his personal stuff, and it is amazing. So Nothing Lasts
Good job,
Forever.
Russ.
Right, yeah. Great video, Russ. Wonderful.
I'm always gonna keep that going because that cracked me up. That was like
Literally
the best
the
April
best.
Fool's joke ever.
The best, yeah.
That was a lot. Of
So
fun.
for me, I when I got home, I sat down and recorded my SteamOS video. It's waiting to be edited, so I'll probably post that later today. So it'll be out before this podcast is. I also have my Lenovo Legion Go S SteamOS edition, which I'm working on my video about that, and then obviously the podcast. So I got a lot to do this weekend, and that's what I'm working on. But head on over to youtube.com/fanthedeck. Subscribe. Even if he hasn't put out a video in a while, subscribe anyway. Go to youtube.com/thefox and make sure that you check out Carrie's stuff, and youtube.com/retrogamecore. And Siri, just remind me, getmechanism.com.
Getmechanism.com.
There you go. You guys could have been anywhere for the last hour and a half, but you were here with us, and I appreciate
What?
Oh, no.
what happened.
Your
There was a blip
I
there.
don't know what happened.
Yep.
My camera's still on.
No, we got Elgato no signal.
All right.
Just at the end too.
All right, I'm gonna close it. Bye.
Bye, guys.